Hello out there, you wonderful people. This is Andre the Game Idea Guy. Thank you once again for lending me your time and you're listening into another Game of Stars discussion. And now I'm going to be talking about why do people have to crap on one thing in order to try to boost another. But before that, just a brief thing, a real brief thing. PSA, if you would. But people out there who refer to The Legend of Zelda as an RPG, please stop doing that. It's not an RPG. It doesn't have the vast array of interlocked systems that make up an RPG. There are some elements to the Legend of Zelda series that are reminiscent of RPGs, and that's always been that way. But the series as a whole, even all of the way up to Tears of the Kingdom from the original game, is an adventure series, an action adventure series. And the only game in the series that truly had anything close to being RPG is Zelda 2. And that was many, many years ago. That is the closest that game has been to being an RPG. And then you could argue that one is an action RPG. But the series is not an RPG series. Hell, I would love a Legend of Zelda RPG game. I would love several of them because they could expand the lore and they could work away from Link, Zelda, and Ganondorf and let other characters actually shine somewhere. So please stop referring to Legend of Zelda as a goddamn RPG. It is not one. Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom are definitely not RPGs because they're more reminiscent of the original game. The very first game. So there's no way they are RPGs. And if you want to say that the style that went forward from Ocarina of Time is an RPG, you are severely lacking in information. They're not RPGs. They don't have an RPG growth system in them. Character growth in video games does not automatically mean RPG. There's a number of different things that go into that, especially the specific stats and how they operate versus your opponent's stats. Legend of Zelda doesn't have that. It does not have that. So please, now that I got that out the way, because that was one of the most irritating things to me. Now that I have that completely out the way, and sorry for the mini rant at the beginning there. Why do we have to bash on one game in order to say another is great? Especially when the games have nothing relatable between them besides the fact that they're video games. That's like somebody saying, well, man, I love Mortal Kombat, but Bloody Roar sucks. Like, what? What the hell does Bloody Roar have to do with Mortal Kombat? Besides the fact that they're both fighting games. Literally nothing. It's confusing for people to want to die on this particular hill. I'm like, do you have nothing to do with your life? Are you that miserable that you can't allow people to find joy in something? And this is all surrounding Game of the Year talk. Like, dude, we still have 5 or so months left to go. Like, why the hell are y'all worried about Game of the Year now? For one. 2, when has Game of the Year been the end-all be-all of games being good or not? Because if that was the case, then there would be a severe slim number of games that people would play. I think people forget that Game of the Year candidates make up like maybe 5% of the industry. Like if you want to hone in on that, Like, oh well, this game got game of the year. This game won game of the year. I played the game of the year. Who the fuck gives a damn? Who cares? This is and I, what was it? What did I call it? Social gaming syndrome. This is that. This is that. Because you have to try to be the top for some fucking reason. It makes no sense. Like, oh, my game's better than yours. Who the fuck gives a goddamn? I like Quest 64, and I know that game is shitty. I know that game has fucked up mechanics. I know it has major issues. I still like it because of the potential of it. And yeah, it might not have been the best story, but there's potential in the battle system for that game if anyone would ever pick that up and try to do something with it. Oh yeah, I played the game of the year candidate. Who the fuck gives a damn? Is that the only way you know how to be excited about something? Oh, my game won game of the year. For fuck, who cares? Who cares? Why are you so focused on that? Why is that the only thing that makes you happy? The perception of being the best. When you know you're not. Why does it matter? Why are people so focused on this stupid shit? If there was no video game awards, there were no game of the year candidacies or whatever, how would you know what games you like to play? That's an honest question for these dumbasses doing this shit. How would you know what games you like to play? How would you discover new games? How would you find out what's attractive to you in a game and what isn't? How would you figure out what you actually like if you're not using social media and other people's preferences to determine that? You know how I did? From the age of 2 forward, I played a bunch of different games. I learned how games operate by playing them and figuring out, well, hey, I like this, but I don't like that. Like, I despise Romancing Saga on the PS2. Yes, I know that's ironic with me saying I like Quest 64. I despise that game, but I will never tell anyone you shouldn't play it because I don't like it. It's just something with that game didn't click with me. So I don't like it. That doesn't make it a bad game. So I could argue some of the functions seem kind of useless, but that's a whole different discussion. You don't need to shit on Tears of the Kingdom to say Baldur's Gate 3 is great. You don't need to shit on Spider-Man to say Starfield is great. You don't need to shit on Street Fighter to say Tekken is great. You don't need to do that. It's non-productive, honestly. It doesn't help the perception of the gaming community at all. Especially for those of us that want to see the community thrive. It does nothing for the perception of the game community. Granted, I know a lot of the people that are in the gaming community now have come from other communities because of the popularity of it growing and deciding, hey, this is where I'll make my niche and this is where I'll get my attention. Instead of those that are like people like me that, you know, genuinely enjoy the fuck out of the hobby and do it for the joy of the hobby. It's just irritating. Like, and I know this is a bad comparison, but I shouldn't have to crap on Mighty Number 9 in order to say I like Mega Man. Shouldn't have to do that. Or say, I shouldn't have to hate on Diablo in order to say that I like. Damn, I had it in my head. Hades. It's not necessary. If you really like a game, then you can do all you can. You should do all you can to chill for that game. To say, hey, I like this game. These are reasons I like this game. If you think like this, you might like it too. You want your game to become better known. You want your game that you are so fervent about to be more popular and that you care about it, then actually talk about the merits of the game. And not be like these social gamers who may not have even touched the game or have no intention to touch the game, who are clamoring for it to win Game of the Year because they want other people to be upset. Honestly, you shouldn't be getting upset about who is or isn't Game of the Year, to be honest. Now, I know I make jokes about certain shit, but you should not actually get upset over it. Like, you shouldn't get upset over it. Now, if your opinion is, yo, this game should have won Game of the Year, that's a whole different thing. That's a whole different thing. But you shouldn't not want a game to win Game of the Year because you want to upset other people. And if you're thinking like that, that tells me more times than not that you are upset because something you like hasn't made it to the pinnacle that you believe it belongs at. That, or you are just a severely miserable person, and we all know misery loves company. But like, I'm not saying grow up, because to fully grow up is to lose all of your imagination, and I don't want people to lose their imaginations. But for fuck's sake, please find a better way to indulge in the hobby. Instead of being the social gamer and wanting to talk about it on social media, actually go and play some fucking games. Play some damn video games. Enjoy some video games. Instead of sitting there in your little corner being mad about one game being popular. Who the fuck gives a damn? If you don't think it deserves the popularity, you don't think it deserves the popularity. Who gives a flying fuck? And even though I have done a discussion about this and will say, hey, I understand why fans of Final Fantasy aren't all that enthralled about Final Fantasy 16. I wasn't talking about the game being bad or anything. I was talking about the inconsistencies in the styling of the games. There's a big difference between criticizing that something has changed from its core versus saying, oh, this is shit. You can give criticism of something without hating on it, without bashing it. And you can give criticism of one game without then using that criticism as a reason that another game is spectacular. Especially when you could literally just talk about why the one game is great and then separately talk about what your discrepancies are with the other game. You don't need to mix those elements. It's not like if somebody was to say, okay, well, I don't like the map system of Xenoblade Chronicles, the first game. I don't like the map system of that game, but I love the storytelling. That's a different thing. You can give a criticism of something and then talk about a positive of it because people are on the same subject. But then you go say, well, I don't like the map system of Xenoblade Chronicles, but I love the action orientation of Spider-Man. The fuck do those things have to do with each other? They're not connected. I think that's the thing that people need to stop doing. If you're going to talk about, like, and it's not the same as saying, hey, these games did this particular thing well and these games didn't do it well, because you're making the thing itself the subject and you're using them as examples. That's still not bashing or harping on one thing to boost another. That's saying, hey, there was an attempt here at doing something. It didn't work out so well with these games, at least in my opinion. And I don't mesh well with these games. But to outright go ahead and say, well, I hope this game doesn't win Game of the Year in order for people to be upset about it is just fucking sad. Sad beyond words. I'm like, when do you enjoy anything? You're spending all your time upset and mad that other people are happy about something that you will not enjoy yourself. Or like the articles that are coming out now for Baldur's Gate 3. There are multiple different arguments that can be made here. But this one I think specifically works well with the current subject I'm talking about. Sorry, I knocked something over. And that's the Baldur's Gate 3 is making AAA developers nervous. And then they go on to talk about how big and lengthy the game is versus the quality of what's going on in the game. Now, I've seen some individual people talk about it, but for most part, the reporting sites have just been talking about the big, expansive size of it. We don't need every game to be large and expansive. We need more quality games released. I don't give a damn about the size of it. I just care about how good they are. And that's the type of thing that we need less of coming from the community. Oh man, I can't play a game that's less than 100 hours. Why not? Why can't you play a game that's less than 100 hours? But you know how many genres of game that cuts out? That cuts out fighting games, that cuts out beat 'em ups, that cuts out shooters, FPSs. That cuts out so many games. That cuts out action platformers, roguelites, hard building games. Some story-based games don't need that long. Well, like they're just meant to tell you the story and then move on their damn way. That cuts out so much. But let me move back from that tangent. I didn't want to get focused on that because that could have been a whole video discussion itself. But I think I wrapped it up pretty neatly. We don't need to crap on one product in order to say another product is good. You literally don't. Because everyone has different preferences, and I'm not one for pushing my preferences upon someone else. As I said before, I like Quest 64, and I fully understand why a lot of other people don't like that game. But I also dislike Romancing Saga on the PS2, and I can understand why other people may actually like that game. In either of those scenarios, I'm not going to tell people that they have to think like me. At least not in the aspect of they have to agree with my stances. There's literally no point to that. It doesn't do anyone any good, and all it's really going to do is show the industry that, hey, we can start making our games be as divisive as possible. And they will intentionally do so because that's what's going to make them money. I would prefer they go the other direction. Not load games up with a bunch of DLC that doesn't need to be there, or holding back parts of a game that didn't need to be held back just to cut it up into pieces to have DLC to give. And it's a different story if they didn't have development time for something versus oh, we already developed all these things. Now we're going to just cut it up into pieces for you. Two different things. They may look similar on the back end of them, but the process of how you got there is far different. That's all I'm saying. If you don't like a game, cool. Don't like that game. But don't bash on other people for liking that game. Or don't bash on other people for disliking a game you like. Again, we all have preferences. There are going to be people that just dislike Baldur's Gate 3. I mean, I have 1 and 2 and I haven't played them yet. I might actually go ahead and play them. But that's... Look, people, stop bashing on one thing in order to lift another. That's all I'm asking. That's all I'm asking. The long and short of it. If you have discrepancies with something, talk your discrepancies. You can do that. If you like something, talk about why you like it. But you don't have to mix the two things. One, it confuses a lot of talking points. Two, it doesn't make any damn sense anyway. At least in relation to this particular medium, it doesn't really make much sense. Because this is all entertainment. This is all unnecessary to your life. It can be helpful, but it's not a necessity for you to live. So let's not be so heavy-handed on the bashing of stuff. That's it. But if there's anybody that has any other opinions they would like to add in or anything else they'd like to say, I'm all ears, ready to listen or see comments. Otherwise, thank you guys very much for listening again. Keep your eyes and ears out for more stuff from me. And until the next time, please enjoy your games. Peace out, everybody. This is Andre, the Game Idea Guy, and I'd like to thank you once again for tuning in. If you would be interested in supporting my efforts in content creation, please head on over to Amazon and look up The Game Idea Guy Presents Gaming Word Search, and you will find both Volume 1 and Volume 2 up for sale. Thank you very much once again, and I hope to be able to create more content for you in the future. Peace out.